We are live at Al Sharpton's National Action Network conference. Big names like Hillary Clinton and Mayor de Blasio are there, and so is our own Dominic Carter right in the thick of it. Then the Republican Party fighting back against Donald Trump's attacks. The chairman telling Trump to give the party a break, and the nomination is at stake. And also, speaking of Hillary, she scored a big endorsement from the Daily News and Bernie Sanders making news by ratcheting up the attacks. Will Hillary be able to rope in the Bernie supporters if and when she wraps this thing up? Evening, everyone, and welcome to RFL. I'm Richard French. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. And we begin tonight in New York City. That's where the National Action Network's annual conference is taking place. It's an annual event. Al Sharpton Civil Rights Organization celebrating its 25th anniversary, and it's doing it in style, of course, in this election season with names packing the event. De Blasio cutting the ribbon, Hillary Clinton, one of the featured speakers today.
When the front runner for the Republican nomination was asked in a national television interview to disavow David Duke and other white supremacists supporting his campaign, he played coy. This is the same Donald Trump who led the insidious birther movement to delegitimize President Obama.
Our own Dominic Carter right in the thick of it, as I said, live at the Sheraton Times Square Hotel in Midtown. Dom?
Well, good evening to you, Richard. Hillary Clinton earlier today, Bernie Sanders tomorrow. The New York primary now just 6 days away. New York State is relevant. Sanders and Clinton are aggressively trying to get the support of New Yorkers. This conference is still going strong at this hour tonight. Richard, as you can hear in the background, someone wants to ask an additional question. They're being told that they cannot. Meanwhile, just minutes ago, we caught up with the Reverend Al Sharpton. Without Obama on the ticket, Hillary Clinton here today, Bernie Sanders tomorrow, how do you possibly motivate the base?
I think that the way the base has to be motivated is they've got to go and tell the base they will represent their interests. And this is not about Bernie or Hillary personally. It's about who's going to sit on the Supreme Court. This is about continuing President Obama's Affordable Care Act and making sure Americans are insured. This is about issues of voting rights and issues of police reform. And I think when you talk to the base about their interests, that you will be able to energize them. But you can't energize them just on personality.
Reverend Sharpton, on the Republican side, I'm very interested in your take on this. Is it a race to the bottom here?
I think that it is the most pathetic race to the bottom I've seen. I mean, you're talking about no substance. You're talking about all shallow and personal attacks that is way beneath the dignity of a presidential campaign.
Have you ever thought of a possibility of a President Trump?
Never in my fondest dreams have I ever thought that was even possible. To think that he is close to becoming the Republican nominee is almost unimaginable.
Richard, they are discussing many issues as it relates to the African-American community nationwide during this conference. Violence in communities, mental illness, police community relations, Richard. And it was 17 years ago when my paths crossed with a mother by the name of Kadiatou Diallo. Her son happened to be Amadou Diallo, who was shot and killed when police thought he was reaching for his wallet. Police thought that he had a gun in the Bronx. Again, Richard, 17 years later, Kadiatou Diallo and myself, we were able to see each other again.
I continue to speak because I believe that my son's death should not be in vain. Remember the first interview I talked with you, you asked me the question.
Well. It was an interview that went international.
Yeah, and I said to you that I do not want my son's death to be in vain, and I continue to work hard to carry his legacy.
Mrs. Diallo, do you feel things have improved in the year 2016, or where would you say they stand?
I think we still have many challenges. Like we said in our platform just now when we were talking, we still continue to advocate for more fairness, and independence between the DA and the police whenever there's questionable shooting cases. But in my heart, I have learned that not all police officers are bad. We have to recognize that many police officers are doing a good job. However, we are still suffering because whenever you see another mother crying like the way I have, it's devastated. So I hope that we can continue to improve on the progress that we've made and solve the problem once and for all so that innocent people will not be killed for no reason.
So, Mrs. Diallo, you have hope.
Yes, definitely. Without hope, we are nothing. And I have the capacity of putting myself into the path of healing and progressing, not to be bitter and to be angry.
And Richard, we'll do this all again come tomorrow morning when Bernie Sanders is here at the National Action Network 25th anniversary convention. But tonight, Sanders is not far from here, Richard, down at NYU. He's holding a massive rally, a massive one with thousands of people in Washington Square Park. Finally, Richard, let me just say this about New York City Mayor Bill de Blasio. He had a rough day today, Richard. He was here and cut a ribbon, that is the mayor, with Reverend Sharpton earlier today. And then he held a Q&A where he spoke with reporters in a separate room. And the mayor of New York was hammered by the city's press corps for his relationship with two fundraisers and also their relationship with the police department of New York City. As for that skit, the skit that some has said was racially insensitive that was done Saturday night at the Inner Circle, Reverend Sharpton made a joke about it here tonight, but de Blasio told reporters that he accepts full responsibility for it, and he also went on to say that he has a strong relationship with the city's black community. That is it for now. Reporting from the Sheraton, I'm Dominic Carter in Midtown. Richard, let's go back to you.
Yeah, a couple questions for you, Dom, and for viewers who weren't with us yesterday. You were part of that Inner Circle skit here. In fact, you were Dante, full with fro and all that, and I think we all agree we don't give the mayor much of a pass on things, but this was a scripted event here. He didn't write the lines. It was in the prompter. The media was part of it. For the media to be bashing him now is a cheap shot. However, are you a little surprised how much this story as it relates to the questionable activities of those two fundraisers, the members of the NYPD, 4 of which I think are in desk duty right now, how much this has moved its way up to Gracie Mansion? You got even Preet Bharara nosing around.
Well, Richard, excellent question. You're right on all accounts. I am surprised at how quickly, I mean, it's not a laughing matter, but I am surprised at how quickly these stories have escalated for this city's mayor in his first term. And this is what I was trying to point out when we spoke on Friday, that this is no joke. I mean, okay, Richard, let me put it to you this way. When every major political reporter in New York shows up to your news conference, that's not going to be a good day for the mayor of New York City. And that's exactly what happened here this morning. So these are issues that are far from over. And de Blasio he said he wouldn't talk about it anymore. And I'm glad you asked me that question, Richard, because it refreshened my memory. De Blasio, who said that he would not talk about this anymore, told us in a room near here, because things were very tight with the Secret Service for Hillary Clinton. He talked about it again today. Number one, the federal investigation. He said again that he did not know, he had no knowledge that his administration is under federal investigation by Preet Bharara. He also said that he instructed, I'm quoting the mayor here, he instructed his campaign manager to contact the U.S. Attorney's Office for the Southern District to inquire if indeed there is an investigation, and B, to see if there's any way that the city could cooperate. That is called damage control. The mayor's got a problem, Richard.
All right, one last question. Clearly somebody who is in a different position right now is Al Sharpton. And for New Yorkers who know his complicated history from the Tawana Brawley, his various investigations that he's had with both feds and law enforcement, how much of a player is he? And is there a risk that for not just Hillary, but Bernie Sanders or whatever, that there still is a stigma attached to Al Sharpton? How much of a political player is he? Because you look at who's going to be there at this conference today, tomorrow, as well as Friday, major players in the Democratic Party.
major players from senior White House advisor Valerie Jarrett to actors to politicians to at 9 a.m. this morning, not only the city controller of New York, Scott Stringer, but also the state comptroller of New York, Tom DiNapoli, Mayor de Blasio, the borough president of Brooklyn, Eric Adams. They were all up there. Whether you like Sharpton or not, whether you agree with Sharpton or not, he has become a major player. There is no way around that. And Richard, for those that might not believe that, I suggest that you come here and just look at the program of the advertisers that are taking part in this year's dinner. So you have Hillary Clinton, Bernie Sanders, you even had, what's her name, Amosa, the Donald Trump's key African-American person. She was here today. So if you're involved in New York politics, this is where you have to be.
All right, Dominic, thank you so much. Very nice job. When we come back here, we will head to the campaign trail. Trump, he keeps lashing out, and I get why, by the way. But now the Republican Party, they're fighting back. We're going to tell you about the war of words over delegates, of course. In our panel, they'll debate who's winning the message war.